My name is Jackson Loepp, and I'm here to talk to you about the future of work a little bit, and I am joined by the lovely voice of the Erie Otters here, Shawn Bednard. Now, Shawn, you are a radio broadcaster here in Erie and the Ontario Hockey League. Tell me a little bit about what that looks like as a career getting into the world of radio broadcast.
Yeah, radio broadcasting is a terrific career, especially in sportscasting. I think it's the premier way to be able to call sports because you are the only link between the action and the audience, whereas in TV, you're more of an ancillary benefit. They can already see what's happening. They don't need you to narrate what's happening. So in getting into radio broadcasting, it's really more about what can you provide alongside a high quality, great broadcast with professionalism. It's, do you have a skill set where you can sell the radio? Can you create advertisement opportunities? Can you market it? What are your strong suits? Where can you provide another asset? At least in breaking in. Obviously, the more that you move up in sports and especially in hockey, the less responsibility that's put on you. But especially when you're starting off, you kind of have to be a jack of all trades while also knowing how to produce your own broadcast, engineer your own broadcast, know the ins and outs, and be able to provide it in a high quality professional way that's the best representation of an organization.
It's something that's very important, and like you said, you kind of at an entry level when you're getting started, you have to know how to do just about everything when it comes to broadcasting. Is there a point in your life where you kind of realized, I've got enough knowledge here to get this show on the road on my own? Is there a certain thing that was taught to you when you were in a university? Is there a program that you enrolled in, or maybe like a college radio situation? Was there something that helped you get your feet on the ground with this?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just being adaptable and being able to wear a lot of hats. And I think that was the best advice that I was given by my mentor back in high school was just be adaptable, be a Swiss Army knife, do everything that you can. And remember that it's not about the people that are more talented than you or better than you. It's about the people that work harder. And I think, especially in this industry, breaking in is tough. It's really tough to get that first job. But from there, it's about connections, networking, having a strong attitude, having a good work ethic, and being someone who wants to be first one in, last one out kind of person. So I think the biggest thing is experience in anything that you do in broadcasting, radio, television, sports, news, whatever. I think the most important thing is to have a mic in front of you and be able to tell a story, because at the end of the day, broadcasting is just another form of storytelling, whether it's sports or news or weather or whatever it may be. You have to be able to craft a narrative, create a story, and ultimately make something that's enjoyable and listenable. So I would say the best advice that I can give is, work and then work some more and then work on your craft as well as working on other things that you can do to provide for an organization in any facet of broadcasting.
I'm glad you mentioned that because it is a craft. It is an art form in a way. And like many other art forms, it requires training and practice. Now, you mentioned having a mentor back in high school. Was this something that you've always wanted to do? Was there a moment? Do you have a memory that you're like, this is the moment where I want to do this? I want to call sports games. I want to broadcast.
For me, I didn't grow up a sports fan. I always, wore my Red Wings onesie when I was a kid or had my Red Wings pillow or whatever. But it wasn't, I always knew I wanted to be a writer or tell stories or something after I knew I didn't want to be a NASCAR driver anymore after kindergarten. But, it was about middle school time when I started to take more of an interest in sports and football. And my dad and I would always watch baseball games or football games, and he always say, I should have been a broadcaster. I love to tell stories. I know all the stats. I know all of it. I could have been great at it. And I was like, you know what? I like sports. I know how to talk. Like, why not do that as a career? Like, people have made it a career. Why can't I do it? I had the benefit of going to a high school, Davison High School back in Michigan, that had one of the premier student broadcast television stations, was able to cut my teeth there, learn under the guidance of a legend in student broadcasting in Randy Scott, and take that experience, knowledge, and opportunity into college, go to Central Michigan University, cut my teeth both on the television and radio side. Got a chance to create my own broadcast network with our club hockey team there. That led to some more opportunities, including an opportunity in the OHL back in 2016 that ultimately, long story short, led to eventually this opportunity with the Erie Otters. So, the biggest thing, like anything, is just you have to work at your craft. You have to I always like to say the Milton Berle quote, which is, if opportunity doesn't knock, build a door. And I think if you can build a door, there's going to be a knock on that door someday. So work at your craft, get your reps, and just always be someone who's ready to answer the call of the wild when it comes.
I mean, the past is really important when you look forward to building the future. And broadcasting and sports broadcasting particularly is a little bit like playing sports in and of itself, in that there is a series of leagues that you look to work yourself up through. In certain instances, there's always people with different goals, different mindsets. But one of those things is like a hockey player on the ice. You look to hone your craft so you can move on to the next level, to the next area. Obviously, the Erie Otters being a great team and a great opportunity. How do you look forward to accelerating yourself throughout your career and continue that advancement, continue building those doors where they might not otherwise be?
Yeah, again, I think it comes to talking to people who want or who have the positions or the jobs that you want. And I think a lot of it is, no matter if you're calling club hockey, high school hockey, pee wee football, whatever, take a lot of pride in what you do. And if you see Sports Center does this, College Game Day does this, TNT does this, why can't you replicate it? Maybe it won't be the same quality, maybe it won't be the same professional look, but you're cutting your teeth in a way that is showing that you're recognizing leaders and titans in the industry and showing that you have the ability to be able to do something similar to that. So I think taking a lot of pride in what you do and continuing to not just be complacent and say, okay, I've got the equipment plugged in, the game's in front of me, I'll call the game just like that, and as soon as the game ends, it's over. If you're calling just for tape, take it to the next level and try and mix in interviews and segments and features and create those, and create pregame shows, create postgame shows, try going live on a social media and see what the reaction is to it. And I think the biggest thing in broadcasting, no matter what facet or form it is critique. I'm always critiquing myself. I know back in high school, my dad and I would always look back at my football games that I was calling or whatever, and it would be right after the game, and he'd say, why'd you say this? Or what were you trying to say here? Or you could have said this more concisely. And I always think about that when I go back and, we're listening to the highlights, or I go back and listen or watch the games, and I'm like, what was I trying to say? Why didn't I say that a little bit quicker? So I think getting a lot more critique is something that can help you, because if there's something that's bad early, you can cut it out. And I know one of my mentors who was in this league as a broadcaster, now is in a different role. He was someone that I sat down with very early in my hockey broadcasting career and showed him tape, and he said, this is terrible. Why are you doing this? Or, this was really good, but, your color guy is not as good. Or, why are you choosing the words that you're choosing? And I think about that every time. It's like, can I cut out words that I fall back on? Like I used to say absolutely all the time, as much as I could. Now I've basically cut it out of my repertoire unless it's absolutely necessary. See what I did there? Past that, I think the biggest thing is just being someone, as you want to move up, in contact with the people who have those positions. So I know as soon as I got to Erie, I was reaching out to the local AHL and NHL teams saying, if there's an opportunity to do a job shadow, if there's an opportunity for you to take a look at my work, if I can come down on a game day and see how you operate, what your prep is like, they're at that level for a reason, and that's the job that eventually someday I'm going to want. And I think that's the biggest thing, is learn from the masters of the craft, be a student of the industry, and be willing to do the work that it takes to be able to move up.
Well, thank you for your time. I really appreciate you coming out here and doing this today. And speaking of which, we are out here in the Erie Insurance Arena. As you can see, the ice is behind us. And just as a little sample of what life is like as a broadcaster, you'll never guess where we're at. This is the broadcast booth. So I think it's just a really good place to do this kind of conversation, to have this kind of talk, because this is the type of role people are looking for. And as we go into the future of work, these are the kind of places that individuals in our field want to find ourselves. So as a young journalist, I think it's important to get into these areas. It's kind of like the job shadowing that Shawn was just talking about, only not in the NHL. But you got to start somewhere, so why not here in Erie?
Absolutely. And for anyone who's watching, anytime that I can be a teacher, a critic, or even just a job shadow opportunity, I'm happy to be that. So feel free to reach out. If I have time to, I will absolutely respond.